before I do that, I want to point something out. I want to show you guys, I talked on day one about this whole idea of shaping perspective, moment of truth, creating internal conflict. And I shared, as many of you know, with E5 that we do that through education-based marketing content, right? That I'm not a salesperson. I don't enjoy selling. Fortunately, a good and effective marketing message takes care of that for you. It perfectly sets up the sale. And I've always said, right, that what we're ultimately trying to do, and I want you guys to listen to me, what we're ultimately trying to do is we're turning the prospect's desire for a result into demand for our product before we ever even offer the product, before we ever even talk about the product. Joel asked me yesterday, he said, when did you first learn how important the message was? Like, when did you have that realization? And I shared with Joel the story of when Mark Ford first said to me, when I asked Mark, how were you able to grow Agora so big and so fast? And I thought that Mark was going to say, a lot of capital, huge email list, the best copywriters. I'm thinking he's going to give a typical answer. And he didn't say that at all. And he looked at me and he said, Todd, we realized early on that we are in the idea business. We're in the idea business, right? We're in the business of developing compelling, interesting, contrarian, shocking, new, fresh, unique ideas. And then we bring those ideas, angles, hooks for content, a different viewpoint, a different story, right? We bring them to the marketplace. And all of our messages are based on that, right? And so what did I do? That was the beginning of a multi-year journey for me to study the big marketing idea. And so I ended up reviewing some 90 plus campaigns, nowhere near the 937 videos, but nevertheless, a lot of sales letters, 90 plus of these winning sales letters, big idea backed. And that's what helped me to really learn the big marketing idea. But at the same time, I noticed one major commonality. And the commonality was that in these long sales letters, that 90% of it was not about the product. They weren't even talking about the product. What were they doing? They were shaping perspective. They were installing beliefs. They were leading you to a point where you realized this solution is the answer to my situation. And I understand why. And I understand why it's better than the other solutions. And I understand why it's so effective, right? And then what did they do? They offered you a way to get that solution. Some of the Agora sales letters were like worthy of being about financial related stuff, were worthy of being saved because they were so informative. They were so educational, but they weren't educational for education's sake. They were leading you somewhere strategically, step by step. Meaning, when I say they were leading you somewhere mentally, psychologically. They were leading you to a different perspective. Now, I want you to understand that. I want to now talk about Jim for 1 second. Jim's presentation, how many of you felt that was valuable? Jim's presentation was we talked about this, right? We talked about this yesterday. Jim's presentation was a perfect example of shaping perspective and creating internal conflict. Right? Because what did he say? He said there's the typical way that people go about building wealth, the treasure chest model, and here are the problems with it, the scarcity mindset, right? And then there's this whole idea of the apple orchard, and here is what this does, and here's why this is a better model. What was he doing? All he was doing was he was shaping perspective and leading us to this perspective, to this viewpoint that the right way to go about doing it is to have the apple orchard. I want the apple orchard. And I said to Jim, I said, all you need to do then is tag on an offer. In the end, that's why I put together a program called the Quick Start Apple Orchard. And what it's going to do for you is it's going to get you from the treasure chest over here. Let me tell you what you get with it, and let me tell you what it'll do for you. You see how, right? Now, right? Because when he stopped at the end with no offer, right? No doubt there were many of you in here that were thinking, man, I want that apple orchard. That's what I want, right? I get it, man. I see it. I understand it. I recognize where I'm going wrong with the treasure chest. I recognize the faults in this model. This is what I want. He led us there. Beautiful. Because what did he do? If he would have offered us the apple orchard program, he perfectly set up the sale. He took our desire for accumulating, growing, scaling wealth, right? And he created demand for this path to the apple orchard before he ever even talked about a product. It's a beautiful thing because it allows a guy like Jim, it allows somebody like me, it allows us to get up there and educate. But not just educate for education's sake. We're not just educating to show people how smart we are or to teach them new things or just to merely inform. We're leading them. Leading meaning we're shaping perspective. We're establishing the beliefs that we need. Right, Jim, if Jim were to offer the apple orchard program, right, he needs us to first and foremost recognize that the apple orchard is better than the treasure chest model. That the apple orchard is the best model. Once we have been led to the new perspective that the apple orchard approach is the best approach, he has perfectly set up the sale for his program. Now, the real beauty of E5, when you understand this, the real beauty of the unique mechanism is that when you do that, you have not only set up the sale perfectly, you've not only set up the sale, but you have created an all roads lead to you. So if Jim was talking about not just this concept of the apple orchard, but he had this XYZ, right? He had the XYZ mechanism, his mechanism. Now imagine he did the same exact thing, except we're not just buying into this concept of the apple orchard per se, even though I think it's great, I love it. But we have now bought in, he's led us to realize that his unique mechanism, the method, the framework, the process is the best path, is better than the treasure chest, is better than all the other models. Now he's created an all roads lead to him message because they can't go anywhere else and get the mechanism. They can't push pause on the video and go over to Google, right? They can't go over to YouTube. They can't go over to Amazon. They can't get it anywhere else. And so you see how he's created an all roads lead to him approach. See, one of the big mistakes that people make with this approach is this educational approach, when you have a commodity, meaning you don't have a unique mechanism, you just have an ordinary mechanism. What you end up doing is you end up sending sales elsewhere, or you give the prospect the ability to go elsewhere. Like I see this frequently where people will say, let's take the supplement. Let's take a supplement for blood pressure, right? These guys have heard me give this example so many times. Somebody said, there's a supplement for blood pressure. And I say, Paul and I have a new supplement. And the secret is in the fact that it contains 500 milligrams of magnesium sulfate. And let me tell you what 500 milligrams of magnesium sulfate will do for you and how it works and why it works. See, 500 milligrams of magnesium sulfate in this example is a commodity. Why is it a commodity? Somebody tell me, why is it a commodity? Because you could buy it anywhere. So you know what happens is now we could deliver a tremendous education-based message. Okay, we can deliver an incredible education-based message and convince people of the enormous power of 500 milligrams of magnesium sulfate and how great it is and how it's superior to everything else and it's safer than medications and whatnot, right? And you know what they do? They go, thank you. Thank you for educating me on that commodity. Pause, Amazon, 500 milligrams magnesium sulfate. Google, magnesium sulfate. Thank you. Right? Now it's a commodity, so now what am I going to do? I'm going to search for the cheapest price. Right? Nobody is going to pay double the price for a commodity, right? Like that's not the way it works. It's a commodity, you're going to pay the cheapest price that you can get for the thing. And so how do we prevent that? We never market, educate, sell a commodity. We never allow for the commoditization of our solution, ever. Many of you have heard me say, like on our 90-day planning sessions, on our calls, when critiquing your campaigns, you never ever sell or offer a commodity. And you have to understand, right, that you do not want to allow in the prospect's mind them to view it as a commodity. You have to have a proprietary solution. That's our unique mechanism. That is our unique mechanism. And to really, and then we're going to go into Q&A. To just kind of sum this up, to condense this, because sometimes this is a sticking point for a lot of people in, okay, I conceptually understand what you're saying, Todd. Like, I conceptually get this idea of unique mechanism. We're going to prove that it's not only different, but it's superior, right? And we're going to lead them there, lead them to that perspective to see that. So how do you do it? Like, what is the process? And so, number one, we start off with, and this is an important thing for you to note if this is not top of mind for you as it relates to the E5 method, is that we always start off with what is the campaign thesis? Meaning, right, what is the one belief that I need these prospects to have before I go into my offer? What is the one belief? We call it sometimes the buying belief, or I like to think of it as, I call it the campaign thesis. By the way, and as a side note, like, I love the idea, I use the word thesis because to me, what we're doing with the E5 method, like if you look at what Jim did, right, what we're really doing is we're presenting an argument for our perspective, the new perspective. That's what we're doing, right? If I asked you, what is the best diet, something like that, and you felt strongly about a particular diet, and I said, okay, tell me why. Prove to me that is like, give me, present your argument. Not a battle but present your argument. Present your case. That's why many of you have heard me say before, right, that what we're doing is much more akin to being a prosecutor in a court case. You're presenting your case, and you're presenting the evidence and the support for the case, right? And that the whole job, the whole task is to lead the jury, in our case, prospects are our jury, to a conclusion, to a perspective, to a new set of beliefs. The new perspective, the new set of beliefs, the new viewpoint is the one that we need them to have so that they're ready to buy. Okay? So we start with, then, what is that viewpoint? For the prosecutor knows what that viewpoint is. Right? Prosecutor goes in and says, I need the jury to see that this defendant is guilty of the crime, right, and should be punished to the full extent of the law. It's very clear. Prosecutor goes in, they know that is the viewpoint that the jury has to have. If the jury does not believe that, right, then why would they give them the call to action to go into the deliberation room and make a decision? Right? Like, they want to lead them to see this defendant as guilty of the crime and deserving of the full punishment. And then when the prosecutor believes that he or she has led them to that viewpoint, it's only then, at that point, do they give the call to action to now go in the deliberation room and find this dude guilty or woman guilty. That's the same thing that we are doing. So what is our thesis? How do you come up with that one buying belief? Well, it is always some shape or form of this template, which those guys in the back use this template every day. And that is that the best way to get the best way, the fastest way, the superlative, which I'm going to talk about in just a second, the best way, the fastest way, the easiest way, the safest way, the most reliable way to get result or primary promise, outcome, right? The measurable, specific, bold, audacious outcome is with this unique mechanism. That is the belief that I want them to have before I go into my offer. My job is to get them to see that the best way or the fastest way or the simplest way or a combination of that for them to get the result that they want is with this unique mechanism. The mechanism that, like, we talked about leading up to the thesis. So in other words, I want the prospect, or we want the prospect, to have this one buying belief by the end of the marketing portion of the campaign before we segue into the offer, right? So I said to you guys that 90% of the, I would look at these 35-page, 38-page, 1 hour VSL sales letters, right? And 90% of them had nothing to do with the product. 90% of them, like in many cases, had nothing to do with the product. It was the last 10% or the last 25%, right? I say that all of our campaigns, all of our marketing messages, and I don't care whether it's delivered as a VSL, whether it's delivered as a long-form sales letter, it does not matter. I always view it as loosely as 75% marketing, 25% selling. What do I mean by selling? I mean the presentation of the offer. 25%, only the last 25% is the offer. And I'm only going to present the offer after I've led them to the thesis, to that one buying conclusion, that one buying belief. Just like, right, look at a prosecutor's case presentation. Right? The majority of what they say is leading people to the belief, and then a very little bit in the end is that closing call to action. The majority of what they say is their case, leading people to the one belief. And then once they've led them to the belief, then they give them the kind of the closing statement, the offer, the call to action. And so I am ultimately educating people, listen to me here, I am ultimately leading people to believe and accept and recognize the value of the unique mechanism. That's my job. I'm getting buy-in on that unique mechanism being the superlative. So what do I mean when I say superlative? So look, you've heard me say jokingly, but it's partially a joke and partially not, right? Nobody is interested in the second best of anything. Nobody wants the second best of anything. There's no value in being the second fastest. You're almost the fastest. Everybody wants the best. Now, you have to claim some superlative, something superior for your unique mechanism. It could either be the fastest, it could be the safest, it could be the most consistent, the most reliable, the most predictable, right, or the easiest, but it has to be something. It could be a combination of those, but it has to be something. And that's what we're proving. That's what we are proving. So how do you prove that? First of all, does everybody understand what I said, right? Does that make sense? That's right. So see how I said, I'm not thinking like a salesperson because I'm not selling. I'm educating. But I'm educating on one thing and one thing only. And that's the superiority of the unique mechanism. My whole thing, that 75% of what I say is all directed by that thesis, is all directed by that one buying conclusion. That is my North Star. That's where I'm leading people. See, that's why we're able to look at education, right? Like when people say, well, what do I educate them on? And I'm going to give you a very simple way to do this. But I'm not sure if I'm supposed to educate them on this or this. The question is really ultimately, well, if you educate them on this, is it leading them one step closer to that buying belief? Is it leading them one step closer to understanding the power, the superiority of the unique mechanism? Because if not, then take it out. Just like the prosecutor, what the prosecutor presents, everything that they do, say, show, demonstrate is there to do one thing. One thing. Lead the jury one step closer to seeing the defendant as guilty, period. They are stacking bricks. Boom, 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 till they have this wall where you can't deny it. You can't deny it. Like you right where we lead people to say, dang, it's the apple orchard, man. I get it. I see it. I understand. I recognize it. And so here's the thing to really think about. So and this is again partially why I refer to it as a thesis and an argument, right? You have this argument that the Mediterranean diet is the best diet for heart health. Well, now what you're going to do, the way that you lead somebody there to that perspective is, so what do they need to believe in order to believe that the Mediterranean diet is the best? Right? It contains this nutrient. It's a higher level of omega-3 fatty acids, more than any other. And according to scientists, omega-3 fatty acids are critical for cardiovascular health. Not only that, but it doesn't spike blood sugar, according to the studies in Harvard Medical School, blah, 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 blah. It doesn't, therefore, right, it keeps your blood sugar down, preventing this, better than any other. Blah, 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 blah. And so, boom, one at a time, we're stacking those bricks. And so here's the way to think about it, to really simplify it. And then I promise you we're going to your questions. that all I'm doing is I'm saying, what do they need to believe, right, in order to believe the thesis? The thesis is the destination, right? So you establish the thesis with the sub-beliefs. And if anybody has a question about that, I'd be more than happy to address the sub-beliefs. But so, right, what am I doing? I know, okay, so let's take, let's do this with an example. So an example, let's say that we need pizzeria owners. So, right, Paul, you got to be loving this. Pizzeria owners to, we need them to believe that our method of Facebook advertising, the Paul method, is the most effective way to fill a pizzeria with new patrons. Okay? And let's say we're talking to pizzeria owners that are completely novice at marketing. Novice, wet behind the ears, right? So what are some of the things that they're going to need to believe in order to believe that our method of Facebook advertising is the best way to get new people in their pizzeria? What do you think?
Facebook ads are a good way to get.
Okay, so Facebook ads are a good way to get people, right? What else?
That your system is proven.
Okay, so that our system is proven. Okay, what else?
Fastest way to reach them.
It's the fastest way to reach them. Okay, good.
That they can pull it off.
That they can pull it off. Okay, what else?
Their customers are actually on Facebook.
Say that.
Their customers are actually on Facebook.
Their customers are on Facebook.
Something unique about your thing that's geared to pizzeria owners only.
Okay, so that'll work for them. That's kind of part of what else? Okay, so social. It's funny how it's funny how you guys are at the end of your so. But what about there's earlier stuff?
They need to believe that they have the problem.
Okay, so okay, we're going to assume that they know they have a problem. Like that's why they're paying attention to what it is that we. But they certainly do.
Letting them know currently what they're doing isn't working.
Okay, well, let's go on the assumption that they realize that whatever it is that they're doing isn't working because they have a problem. They're not getting enough new people.
That their pizza's worthy of people experiencing.
Okay, wow, you guys are really going down like what, like that. We have the freshest pepperoni around. Man,
I'm getting hungry, I tell you that.
I gotta use this is a Kevin like. It's partially Kevin and Bill Cosby in one. All right, so let me save us some. Go ahead.
That their desire is valid and possible, that it can work and it can work for them.
Okay, so that's kind of been said, right? That this can work for you.
That they can get customers online to offline.
Okay, so right off the bat, right, there might be pizzeria owners that are like, is online even effective for a pizzeria? How about the fact that aren't there freeways? Like, can't I do Google Maps and use these freeways? Don't I want to be listed at the top of the search engines, right? Like, and so, right, we need them to believe, right, that first and foremost that they're people, that online marketing is effective for their type of business, right? We need them to believe that online marketing, we know it works. Not every pizzeria owner is going to know and believe, right, with conviction that the online advertising works. We're certainly going to need them to believe that their people are accessible online. We're certainly going to need them to believe that we can target just their people, because many pizzeria owners might be thinking like, aren't I going to be advertising to people in Japan and all over the place? And so online, you can target your people, right? And restaurants are doing well online. We also need them to believe, right, that paid advertising for pizzerias is better than free stuff online, right? 'Cause understand this, recognize the importance of each one of these little beliefs. If they don't believe that paid is better than free, then we have a massive gap in our argument. Then when we get to our method of Facebook advertising, they could say, oh, I believe that your method of Facebook advertising is the best. I could believe that it's different. I could believe that it's great, but I'm still thinking free. Why don't I try free? For free is great. And so, right, paid advertising is better than free. But now, okay, so now they believe paid advertising is better than free. What's the next thing?
Why Facebook?
Why Facebook? right? Paid advertising. Shouldn't I advertise on Google? So, right, I want to prove to them that, right, and right, like paid advertising is better than free advertising or free traffic. Go ahead, Paul.
I've noticed just as a side point, I've noticed that for whatever reason, food reviews on Facebook pages are like generally more positive than they are on like Yelp, right? So like an objection or a thought that they might have is, no, Yelp is better, right? Like that's where everyone's going.
Yeah.
And that could be like another thing, another perspective change that you show them.
Yeah.
No, well, because you know, you have a better, actually you're coming from a better place and you're starting the interaction off on a better foot using your Facebook page, because generally speaking, Facebook pages get better reviews.
Yeah, well, and so great point. So what are we really saying, or what's the belief that we really need them to have, right? Because you can start to say, oh, well, we need them to believe that Facebook is better than Yelp. We need them to believe that Facebook is better than YouTube. We need them to believe that, but what you're really saying, the belief that we need them to have is that Facebook is the best source. Period.
And first to get them to realize that they need to pay, because most of them are being headed by radio stations and television stations and newspapers that are charging way more than what Facebook.
So right, goes back to, you know, like first of all, online and why it's superior and blah, 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 right? And so then, right, so paid is better than free, right? And Facebook is the best of all paid, right? And our method of Facebook advertising is better than all other methods of Facebook advertising. Do you see how methodically and strategically we are shaping their perspective and leading them one brick at a time, right? One brick at a time to this view, to this perspective, to this belief that yes, now I understand why the Paul's method, whatever it is, XYZ method, is the best method for a pizzeria to use. Do you see how one block at a time? Now, how do you do that? And this is really simple. The reality is that the way that you put these together is with CPB chunks. A CPB chunk stands for claim, proof, benefit. So there's a belief that we need people to have. Take any one of those beliefs that we just said, right? Paid is better than free. So the way that we start this CPB chunk is you claim it to be true. How do you claim it to be true? You say it. Paid is better than free. We need them to, right? We start the CPB chunk of Facebook is better than any other source. What do? Facebook is better than any other source. Now, if that's all we did, that's not a marketing argument. That's not a marketing message. That's a string of claims. And that's what you see so many marketers do. All they do is, right, you know, Facebook's better than every other source, right? And our method is better than any other method of Facebook. And they just expect prospects to believe them because they said it. That's where the P comes in. That sounded really terrible. The P comes in. P is proof, evidence, support. You have to recognize, right, that a marketing, our buddy Jeff Walker always used to say, I don't know if he still says it, but he used to say it years ago, no proof, no launch. Now what he was talking about then was really testimonials and case studies. In this context, you have to back up what you say. Give me a reason to believe. RTB? Can I get an amen? Amen. Wow, that was actually rhetorical, and you guys rolled with it. I love it. And so the reason to believe. You make a claim, now back it up. Offer me some proof. Offer me some evidence. Give me some support. Give me a reason to believe that to be true. That's an argument. That's an argument. An argument is not a string of claims. An argument is claims backed by proof, support, evidence. Now, many of you are thinking, well, what evidence? Right? What, like, do I need testimonials? Do I need case studies? No, we don't need testimonials here. We're not using testimonials here. Testimonials are about your product. Testimonials are what we use during the last 25%, the offer portion. We're not talking about the product. We're not talking about the service. We're not talking about you, right? We're presenting an argument. So if you say that Facebook is the best source, right? Well, what is your evidence for that? Now, one of the easiest ways to provide evidence is to give a reason why. You've heard it said that Gary Benzavenga, one of the greatest copywriters to ever play the game said one of the most powerful words is what? One of the most powerful words in copy. Wait, nobody knows what Gary said? Because. Because. And the reason why because is so powerful is because what comes after it serves as proof. This is easy to use because, boom, boom, boom. It only requires one click of the mouse, no special knowledge, and a little computer. That serves as proof. I just backed up. I didn't just make a claim, I backed it up. Reason why Facebook is better than any other source is because that's the proof point, that's the support. So when in doubt, right, and this is why, as a side note, I know I'm going longer. Is this okay that I'm going longer?
Yes.
The reason why, see, there we go. The reason why is because, man, it just comes out naturally. You have to understand, right, like the beautiful thing is that what the mistake that a lot of people make is they've never thought through the logic of their argument. They're saying it like Facebook is the best, and they've never invested the time to say, why? Why do I do it this way? Why do we do it in this order? Why do we do this first and this second? Why don't we do those other 3 steps that everybody else recommends you do? Why is that unnecessary? Why do we do it exactly how we do it? What is the reason why? See, the beauty is when you spend the time, and that's what we refer to as interrogating, right? In the E5 method, when we interrogate the unique mechanism, what are we doing? We're looking, we're putting the unique mechanism under the microscope, right? And we're understanding why we do it the way we do it. I have to believe that every single one of you in here believes that your way, the way that you are teaching, or what it is that you're doing nobody has an agency, the way that you're doing it in your agency is the best way to do it, right? I have to believe that there's nobody in here that's like, oh, I know that our way is the 3rd best way, that there's a better way, and we chose to do it the 3rd best way. You all believe that your way is the right way, right? You all believe, how many of you with a show of hands believe your way is the right way? Right? And so now if I asked you why?
Because.
Oh, Rick.
Insert reason to believe.
There you go. Right? I'm gonna give the rationale. I'm gonna give the support. I'm gonna give the evidence. I'm gonna give the reasoning. Certainly if we can quote a study, a stat, that's great, that's cool. But when you can't, give the reason why. And then what do we do for that one sub-belief? What do we do? So we took the Facebook is the Facebook is the best way, or paid advertising is the best, is better than free, right? So what do we do? CPB chunk, claim, paid advertising is better than free. What's the proof of that? We're gonna give, right, it's all trackable, it's all measurable. You can start with pennies, it works right away. You don't have to hire somebody to do content and get SEO. Your business isn't vulnerable to change in algorithms, right? You can scale it up as fast as you want, right, blah, blah, blah. Now we go on to the B. The B is the benefit to you. So what that means for you, man, when you're using as pizzeria owner, when you are using paid, is that it's all under your control. You don't have to worry about blah, 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 blah. You could start seeing results as soon as tomorrow, right? And you could start trying blah, blah, blah. We give the benefit. CPB. Claim, we claim it to be true, what we need them to believe. We give the support. It's really a bad reference. I don't know what to do with my hands, but they're going. Claim, proof, benefit, what that means to you. And then we go on to the next one. All I'm doing is then I establish that belief, and then I just go to the next one. Right? Paid traffic is better than free, boom, CPB chunk. And here's the thing to understand, that Facebook is the absolute best paid traffic platform. Reason why is because, and so what that means for you is, and our method of Facebook advertising shortcuts the whole process. The reason why is because proof. And so what that means for you is every step of the way, that's all we're doing.